So good evening all. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the 9th edition of TiE Kerala My Story session. We have with us Mr. Suraj Arukil, a seasoned technology entrepreneur and the CEO of Nuvento Systems Private Limited. Nuvento is a major IT service and consulting firm based in New Jersey with over 500 employees around the globe and offices in Kansas, New Jersey, Kerala and Karnataka. Suraj is a multifaceted leader with a wealth of experience spanning over 2 decades, a mentor to tech startups, a product expert and a leader in digital transformation. He brings a unique combination of expertise and insights to the table, advising startups and established business models and strategies for leveraging data, AI and cloud technologies to disrupt their industries. We are all waiting to hear more about your story. Over to you, sir.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. First of all, that was very kind of him to give such a great introduction. I never knew that I was so talented. But since now that he has given such an introduction, I am Suraj Arukil, by the way. Before I start this session, I just want to ask a few questions. Has anybody heard of Sabir Bhatia? How many? Show of hands. Nuventos are not considered. So, how many of it? So, in a group of, we are about 20 people, 3 people have heard of Sabir Bhatia. What have you heard about him? Huh? Hotmail. There you go. So, as a kid in 1996, when a lot of people were talking about a lot of things, Windows was there at one side, your Apple on another side, there was this Indian kid somewhere, right, who created something called as Hotmail, right? What is Hotmail? For all the younger people, like when I talk to my daughter today and I say, there was a time when I didn't have Google. She said, Dada, you didn't have Google? How were you studying? I said, by books. I said, read. How? So, when there was a time, much before Google was there was a thing called Hotmail, hotmail.com. And a lot of us had hotmail.com accounts, right? But the thing that interested me the most was this guy, right, from India. I have never met Sabir Bhatia in my life. I have never seen him. I mean, I've seen him in photographs. But he went to US. Somewhere in some garage, he created the system which revolutionized emails, right? In 1996, sending emails to somebody and that person being able to respond to you was revolutionary. As a small kid in 1996, maybe I was born in 1978, so around 18 years old, for me it was a big deal. Few things made that big impact. Number one, Sabir Bhatia was Indian. He went to a country where so far we were not considered to be the best, right? He made this happen. That kind of triggered a lot of emotions in me. I said, if Sabir can do this, why can't I? So that was the time when, being from a traditional family that I was from, which my dad was in the Air Force, I was supposed to go into the armed forces. I had already given my NDA exams. My dad would wake me up every day morning. A lot of people would have seen a lot of movies where, the father forces the son to become army officer. I was one such person. I cleared my NDA. I was supposed to be part of the armed forces. Was not really generally interested in doing something like that. Not many 18-year-olds are thinking in that direction. But suddenly, this whole concept of, why don't I start thinking about an idea? Why don't I start thinking about a company came into picture? What that company would be, what that idea would be, I didn't know. I didn't have a Hotmail in my hand. And what Sabir Bhatia did is completely different from what Nuvento is doing today. It's completely 2 different stories. But what he did though was, he gave me a thought that entrepreneurship, or for that matter, innovation, is something that the world will recognize. Technology for the first time can transcend boundaries. First time when I went to the US, a large part of our teams during those days, we were all moving from Y2K to CRMs. People in 2000, how many of you know about Y2K? Again, a small this one. So in year 2000, a lot of the computer systems were having some issues. I'm talking from a very 5,000 square feet overview. I don't want to get into the detailed technology background of it. So a lot of Indians went to make the systems work. Because till then it was till 1999, and after that everything is going to be 2000. A lot of systems had to be changed. Long story short, Y2K created a lot of opportunities. So from Y2K, after Y2K was implemented, a lot of budgets were there. People were starting to think, what else can we do? How else can we use technology? And the natural thing was to use it for making that systems better, automating it. A lot of people started using it for CRMs, ERPs. CRM is your customer relationship management tools. ERP is your enterprise resource planning. What is this? Customer relationship management is today, if you are calling a credit card company, your name, your details, your entire contact history is actually stored into a system, and that is called CRM. And you have a full set of employees. You have marketeers, your sales, your HR. Managing them is through an ERP. You would have heard of, how many of you have heard of SAP? SAP. Well, SAP is an ERP platform. How many of you have heard of Salesforce? Salesforce is a CRM, right? So what happened in early 2000s is a lot of these companies were implementing these kind of things. We were implementing a similar thing called Siebel. Has anybody heard of Siebel? There you go. So, which was then bought over by Oracle, right? A large part of the implementation of CRM is, the byproduct of that was data, right? A lot of systems, because you are implementing these systems, now your systems become better. Now I know who my customer is. I know how my claims representative is talking, you know, how much time he is taking. It is producing a lot of data. I really don't know how to use this data. That is where the concept of Nuvento was born. We said, today we have the ability to think in terms of data. Or that time, me and my partner, we said, hey, you know what, we are CRM implementers, we are ERP implementers, all this is good, but we are in a space where there are a lot of people. There is a space for data. And this was in the early 2006, 2007, when not many people thought about data. So we thought about data in that way, and we said, let's focus on our company and let's only focus on data. And that is how with this concept of Nuvento started. Now when we started Nuvento, we didn't have a name. So a lot of people, we both brainstormed and we said, you know what, let's find the most kick-ass name. We want to start this new venture, so we called it Nuvento. So there was no brainchild or branding or anything like that. We just wanted to do this. Our first customer was an insurance company. And the insurance company had an Excel sheet where they were managing their claims representative. This insurance company had offices in all the 50 states of US. They had other countries also where they were doing activity. They had close to 20,000 employees, and every manager would have an Excel sheet where they'll physically manage their employees, and they'll say, hey, this employee did this many claims, this many that. We automated it using data. And that is how this entire journey of Nuvento was started. So what started as a dream from Sabir Bhatia, where I thought that I can be an entrepreneur, finally materialized with Nuvento. And that is the journey that happened. And as a result of this, we started doing a lot of data-based activities, right? Well, this was stage one of Nuvento. Then what happened was, all this data and systems are on servers, which are on your premise, right? There was no cloud. So how many of you have worked in computer system without when there was no cloud? Oh, there again. So a lot of people have worked on cloud. A lot of people have seen the cloud days when there was no cloud. So suddenly what we started seeing was data is no more on premise. It's on the cloud, right? So we had to migrate towards being more optimistic about the cloud, or we had to move towards the cloud, because cloud now became part of our journey. It is important to have cloud. Also, what happened was, earlier data used to come where you will have a CEO saying, show me the reports. You will have a marketeer saying, show me the reports. Data's lifestyle changed. Now with the advent of smartphones, right? I am talking, when was the first Apple released? 2000? First Apple released in 2000. iPhone first one? 2007, see. So that's when Nuvento was started. So with the advent of Apple and new smartphones coming into picture, there were two things that happened. Number one, the processing power of the phone increased. Number two, the bandwidth on the phone increased. So now you can do a lot more with data. So companies started asking questions, what else can I do with data on real time? So what else did we do with data on real time? There was a company, again, due to non-disclosure, I will not disclose company names. Obviously you can see, in different discussions you will see us talking about different companies. But there was this sporting company, and they wanted to build this 360-degree fan experience. They wanted to know, who is my fan? Every time a fan goes to see a game, can I recognize him? Can I recognize Suraj as a fan? Can I know how much money will Suraj spend when he's coming and watching this game? I know this fan likes LeBron James. So if I were to give him a LeBron James t-shirt, will he buy it faster? And this has to happen in real time. I want to know, maybe Suraj is not such a big fan, but not such a big spender, but he's a great fan. He comes and watches every game, and he sits in the nosebleed section. Nosebleed sections are the end of the stadium, where if the ball goes, it hits the guy's nose, right? But he's a regular, player. Sorry, if it's a regular fan. Can I move him into the front court? And can I give him a real-time experience? So the data where a CEO is looking and saying, what happened to me last year? Or what can I predict further? Is now being used to make real-time decisions. And that is where we started changing. We started looking at data from a different perspective. Now, while we were doing this, the data also changed. Earlier it was all relational, very easy. Now it became unstructured, large, big data, right? What we call as big data. Again, I don't want to bore people with technicalities of it. It started getting difficult to handle this data, right? So that is where we started moving. We started using this data to move from, previous, just looking at data to make actionable insights, to actually using data to deliver customer experience. And that is where the entire journey of Nuvento is going. Where are we going further? We are going to use this data further and use AI to make this decision. That's the entire journey. And while we are having this, we see a lot of things happening. So in 2010, while at the peak of this, I said, let's not just do services, let's put this into a product, right? Let's put it into a product. Let's look at social media. 2010, how many of you have used social media in 2010? Yeah, maybe again, 4 or 5 people, right? How many of them? And we had Facebook, right? Orkut. So like what my daughter says, you guys are boomers. So, or I am boomer, right? So anyways, so in those days, in 2010, we said, hey, you know what? This is going to boom. Twitter is going to boom. Let me use this and do sentiment analysis. Let me use this and understand what is going on. We went and pitched in front of a rum company here, and they were fighting against a vodka company. We said, we'll tell you why the people are not drinking rum, why the people are drinking vodka. We went to another place. We said, you know what? This guy who was doing, this guy called TiE, who was doing this famous Korean pop called Gangnam Style, right? Who is a similar popular guy in India to do a similar show? All using social media. We did analysis saying, why is Aishwarya Rai a better return on investment than Sushmita Sen in terms of ad campaigns? We did everything. Then we went and pitched. The customer looked at us and said, where did you get this data from? We said, social media. We don't care. Social media, what social media? Nobody is using social media. How many of you will use social media? We ran for 2 years. And then we shelved the product. We said, this is not going to work, because everywhere, I'll tell you, there were some great media brands. We went and told, they said, you know what, Suraj, you are just wasting your time. Nobody is going to consume news on social media. What social media? People have got channels. We are consuming sports through ESPN. Who has time for this? And what do you have today? We have NFT. How many of you know about fungible tokens, right? NFTs. So there are a lot of things which are happening today. But that time, nobody wanted us. Within 2 years, after fighting a lonely battle, and then one of my major customers said, you know what, Suraj, it was nice seeing you. I don't want to see your face anymore. and now that I don't have any more funds to fund it, no investor on my board, nothing, I had to say, you know what, I'm going to close this product. I'm going to close this product. 5 years later, while talking, one guy came and said, Suraj, I want you to get introduced to one of the people because you are an expert on social media data extraction. I said, when? That was long time back. That bit just gone. But what I'm trying to tell is, sometimes you may have the best of ideas. The best of ideas. But its time would have not come. It will not work. Doesn't make you a bad entrepreneur. Doesn't make the idea bad. Right? I also learned one very important lesson, right, at that time. That is, if you have a customer and a so-so idea, you have a business. If you have the best of idea and you don't have a customer, it's a hobby. So the first question as an entrepreneur that I asked myself is, am I just satisfying my hobby or am I doing real business? When you start asking this question, you will also do one small thing. You will cut things which you are not supposed to go behind. And sometimes those are painful. So that was another lesson that I learned. Right? Today, when I advise startups, I was recently advising a startup. They had a great product. I called my team and said, what the hell are you guys doing? See how these kids have done it. You know, they're just college kids and they've come and they have built this product. They have outstanding product. Then I asked them, what do you want to do? They said, you know what, brother, I want to make it even better. I said, don't make it better, sell. No, we want to make it even better. We want to do this here. You know, when it clicks, this AI will come. I said, it's not needed. Customer doesn't want it. You're over-engineering it. No, we want to do this. We want to beat the market. We want to show everybody. That product is still, they're showing. They're still showing the product. It's not gone anywhere. Right? So the biggest thing is, also I learned that you learn on the job. Entrepreneurship is also learning on the job. Somebody is going to kick you on your backside. Somebody is going to shake your hands, but you learn on the job. You will get to know, hey, you know what? This is possible. This is not possible. But if you don't try, if you don't pitch your idea, and you wait for that good day when everything will work, software will have no bugs, right? It's not going to work. We had a product, right? And I don't want to name the product. It had bugs, right? So one of my top guys came up to me and said, Suraj, we cannot sell the software anymore. I said, no, we are going to sell it. We are going to sell it and we'll tell the customer that this is the bug. And what will the customer say? He'll tell two things. With your bug, I don't want your software, he'll throw it away. Or he'll say, okay, we'll give you a shot. I'm ready to take that shot. So be ready to take the shot. You will never score a sixer. You know, people hit the ball to 6, right? You cannot hit a ball to 6 if you don't face the ball. Right? You can only hit a ball out of the court provided you face it. If you don't face it, what happens? You will never get it. So take the shot. So these are some of the lessons that I gathered from my many small years of experience. Also, one of the most important thing I also learned is, this is a very, very lonely life. Okay? It's a very lonely life. You will be suddenly in the darling of many. People will all love you. They all want to, talk to you. Everything is all good. They'll all listen to you. But there will also be days when nobody wants to talk to you. Customer doesn't want to talk to you. Your vendor doesn't think you're great. Your partners are not very happy. Your employees don't think that you're that charming either. So what happens then is, you need a support ecosystem. When you go back home, that support ecosystem should support you. When you stay in the office, that support system should support you. So your co-founders, your immediate employees, your wife, your spouse, husband, children, your friends, these are very important to keep you grounded, to tell you that, hey, you know what, it's not such a big deal after all. So I may be thinking about this $1 million deal that I'm talking about, and my daughter says, no, all that matters to me right now is that bag or that shoe or something, sometimes it's important to also take your mind off. So it is very important to have your good support ecosystem. And I was blessed with a great co-founder. I was blessed with this man, Mohan, who is sitting here. He happens to be the first employee of Nuvento, So he came to Nuvento and we had steel tables and steel chairs. And he is now sitting and we are talking about how to scale an office of 400, 500 people, right? So it's also that journey. So he has also seen ups and downs with us. It's very important to have that journey, and it is very important that you carry along people in that journey. And there are going to be a lot of people who will say, you know what, it was great working with you, thank you, goodbye. And in that also I learned one more lesson. I said, and this is my philosophy, I say when somebody wants to leave, I open the door, I say thank you, nice meeting you. And when they are going, I say bye-bye, so that when they turn back, they can see me waving my hands. So I tell my team, when somebody is going, don't go open the door and kick him on the back. And I tell the guy who is leaving, when you are going, don't slam the door back on the host. Because this is a relationship. Employee and company is a relationship, right? It's just like how you will treat your friends, just like how you will treat each other. I wouldn't treat my employees any lesser than how I treat my own family. And I expect that they give the same respect to me. Obviously, they may not like everything that I say, and they may want to leave. That is fine. They have better careers to take, absolutely the case. But the spirit of camaraderie, spirit of friendship is very important. So these are some of the learnings. Again, I never prepared for a speech or something like that. I am very impromptu. And this is also one complaint my team has, that I always go away from the script. I have two ladies there. They are generally usually on my head, always on that. So this is a very impromptu speech. So I'll keep it at this. I think I'll open it up for any questions, or I'll keep going on talking about it. So does anybody have any questions? Yes.
A little bit of
Yeah, okay.
smaller than me.
Okay.
So you told that you started your venture in 2007.
Yeah.
Along with when Apple launched iPhone.
Yeah.
So that means you started your data
Yeah.
journey from 2007. Apple has reached the hands of most of the people here.
Yeah.
But when I approach clients, even some of the biggest in the city or in the state, when I tell them that, I'm not speaking about the big data, but when I tell them that I can automate your data in your ERP, in your CRM, and in your clouds, multiple sources, into one dashboard, and I can do all the formulas, and I can predict your sales or your expenses. Most of them are responding like, wow, this is something impossible. The attention it deserves, or why it is still in very infantry stage, even after I think maybe 2 decades, around 2 decades.
That's a very, very good question, and I am a MBA in finance myself, so I do deal with a lot of finance activity, right? So a lot of this modeling, and I am telling from personal experience. We are people of numbers. Data people are people of numbers. In your group of friends, right? You would have had many friends. Think about that friend who always talks about numbers. Hey, you did that, you spent $100. That day you did this. What do you do with such a friend? You avoid him, right? So what happens with data is, whenever we talk data, we are talking numbers, and people don't want to hear numbers. People don't want to hear numbers. People want to know business case, right? People want to know productivity. People want to know efficiency. People want to know, when you go up to somebody and say, hey, your debt to equity ratio is 0.5. I mean, a lot of people would have heard about debt to equity ratio right now, I'm sure, in different contexts, and I don't want to go why that is this or what. But when you say something very specific to their business problem, so what we are doing, for example, is when we go to a sports company, we are not telling that we will bring you a fan data. That's something we are doing for sure. We'll enhance your fan experience. How do I enhance your fan experience? And what do I get? Right? What will I get? Okay, I am a company, I am IPL, for example, today, and you are a fan, you are, let's say, RCB fan. Any RCB fans in the house? Not even one. I was expecting at least Ramesh would have. Every year RCB guys, very nice guys. I am a Bangalorean myself. We say, Kappu namade, Kappu namade. that cup has never come. So, but if you are an RCB fan, right? Why should I, how does it matter to me? It matters to me if every RCB fan is spending, let's say, $50 on that t-shirt, saying Kappu Namade, and I can predict this one, if I can monetize. So until and unless your customers believe that you can monetize something from the data, you can make it productive, make it efficient, they are not going to buy the data. I mean, let's be honest, everybody here knows what is the debt to equity ratio, if your debt versus what you have, and at some point of time banks don't lend you, right? We see that in the fundamental and still buy the equity. A lot of you would have heard of ChatGPT, right? I mean, day before yesterday we had a town hall, it was like everybody was ChatGPT. Let me ask you this question. Let's say ChatGPT spits out a number saying buy stock X at 50% probability, right? There will be somebody who will say if that 50% probability is good for me to buy. Another person will say if that 50% probability is not good for me to buy. It says no with 20% probability. Somebody will say I am so risky, I will take that 20% probability. Somebody will say no. Even if it is 80% probability, I will not take. Right? ChatGPT can only give you numbers. It cannot tailor your behavior. So until and unless you understand what is that customer's pain point. Dashboards, yes, they will. We addressed the same thing earlier. We used to go to this Chief's Claims Officer, very beautiful looking dashboards. So Suraj, it is so superb. Can I move the graph here? I said, yes. And I know this. Can I move this numbers here? Yes. But I don't get the business. Right? I am only showing him graphs. So you have to, with maturity, with that struggle, you will understand what exactly is that pain point of the customer that you can talk. And there are some very good books written on this. Some telling stories with data. There are some very good books. I forget on the top of my head. Again, I'm jet lagged. So, my memory power is not that great. But there are many good books and there are many good courses on how you can tell a story with data. People buy stories. How many of you have today, can you tell me, customer just buys because of efficiency? We all buy because of stories. So if your story is something that the customer can understand, he will buy. If that customer is not understanding, then that is not the story for him. You need to come up with a new story. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I'm very curious about the social media analytical, etc. software built at the time. What came of it? I mean, is that still shelved or did you unshelve it? Came of it?
So then we were able to pull data from Facebook, for that matter Twitter. We did a lot around brand analysis. You can do a lot around brand analysis even now, right? But a few things that came out of it was we were able to capture this data, we were able to build the clusters and do the technical thing, right? I made this great food that I myself eat and say, wow, I did a great job. Nobody's eating it, right? Nobody's eating this food. So that was one thing. Second thing was, as we went along, 2010 was not the time when social media channels were very strong in security. A lot of this data could be extracted of their own data. So Twitter and others, they started putting a block on the data. So now we have capabilities, but our APIs are sophisticated. Connect to Facebook as part of our activity, connected as part of the. What we did though is, we are all NLP, right? The natural language processing that is done. Like for example, we did this thing where we said, we did this thing for a company which was a software computer company, and we were able to find out which model of that computer is the most hated and why. Purely from Twitter, but they didn't find any value to it, right? So they said this is this one. So lot of things like this happens, but it again, so that talent to segregate the data, identify the data, tag the data, attribute the data, those are all capabilities that we created. That is now getting used in our AI and other capabilities. So it is an extension. We are not exactly there, but we are, So I don't know how many of you have read this book called Getting to Plan B. So if you get a chance, read this book. Okay. So it talks about pivoting. You know what the pivoting is? Basically, you have an idea. So I'll give you an example, and this is it is not, I do not know how exactly this is their case, but when Google started, right, getting to plan B. Okay. So when Google started, Google wanted to produce the best search engine because they felt Alta Vista. How many of you have used Alta Vista? Again, I think the same hands. So Alta Vista was a search engine, and they said this is not at all good. So the first time they created a search algorithm, they sold it to Yahoo. Do you know Yahoo used Google algorithm? How many of you knew? So Yahoo used Google algorithm primarily because they were able to give a better search, right? Still, they were not very profitable. That's the third thing they said, pay per click, right? Now that I am listing this barber and you click on him, right, I should get a share. And that's where this Google's major ad, they make major ad revenue from there. Then they said, you know what, when I am doing it, why don't you do it? So you have a blog, you can put Google AdWords there. And what it will do is, it will share that ad click thing with you. So they started creating the different revenue streams. So from being just a search algorithm to context sensitive search to actually creating pay per clicks, that's a lot of pivot. So being just the number guy to being customer monetization expert, right? Or customer productive, I don't know how, but something like that. So that is where the entire thing is. So the getting to plan B, how do you get to plan B? There is a genuine framework to this.
What is the main product or service or customized product?
So yeah, so from our digital capabilities, we are not doing any more products per se. So we have services as a line, and in services we just provide services, but we have frameworks, right? We have frameworks of our own, like capabilities that we have built over a period of time that we monetize. So if you use our frameworks, we will monetize the frameworks. But it is very service driven organization. However, as Nuvento, we also have a education specific product. That's not got nothing to do with this activity. That's a completely, so we invest in other activity. One of the investments that we have is an education specific product. That's a product, and that has a product specific life cycle. That does not have this. You understood? So when it comes to digital, it's hardcore services. When it comes to edu health, focus in the organization, especially you will see a lot of churn. Will be able to take the change. Some people will not be able to take the change. So be ready for the change. A lot of people come to me and say, you know, Suraj, we want you to be the change agent. Write change agent in your LinkedIn profile, and I gladly do it. But when the change comes, they say, we can't take this change. Right? We can't take this change. So I was recently talking to somebody. I said, you know what? Read a book from an author you don't like. Talk to a person who has a different point of view than yours. Right? Listen to a political channel that you do not believe in. It builds resistance. Right? It's very important. It's very important. Today's thing, we want to only hear whatever we have. How many of you have heard of confirmation bias? So confirmation bias is your mind always pockets everything into a specific thing, and it starts believing in it. So you may believe in a specific political ideology or a specific theory. Your theory is moon is brighter than the sun, for example, which is a wrong theory. Then what you will do is you will keep searching for proofs to confirm your bias, right? So a lot of that time that will happen with your leadership. The leadership will believe, oh, this is the way we should do it. Somebody will be there. There has to be one guy to take the poll and say, this is how we are going to change. And our organization itself has changed every 3 to 4 years. Newer people have come, and we had to change sometimes. We were in different places. We were a Bangalore-based organization. We had to cut down our things in Bangalore because of some issues. We had to move to Kerala. We grew here, then authority, then. But every was not just locational. said, okay, we are going to be data, now we will get into cloud. Well, the data should be presented on his mobile, do it. Will not do it. All these are going to be resistance to the change. You are going to see resistance. It's part of your, if you are seeing resistance, it's part of your learning. Okay? But you will also see growth. As long as you are able to see growth on the revenue side, you have to take this by your, and that is where your support ecosystem comes into picture. This is going to be a very lonely world. It's not going to be, if you have a co-founder, that's where co-founders come into picture. On those days when you are completely tired and you feel that you are completely lost, he can possibly sit down with you with the peg and say, okay, boss, not all is lost. We still have something to fight tomorrow. That ecosystem is required. But change is what you're going to see, and that change, as long as you are able to manage that change and internalize that change yourself, you'll be okay.
Interesting point on the confirmation bias. There was just this meme the other day in LinkedIn which was saying about how data consultants are forced to deliver insights that the business wants. But anyways, my question is, you have offices in Kansas, Bangalore, and in Kerala. So I'm curious, where did you start your journey, and how have you found the climate in each of these locations when it comes to doing business, and what has driven your choice to work?
So when we started our journey initially, our first customer was the Midwest, which is Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma in United States. Generally are the places where all your claims or back office or your customer support and services sits in the US. So you will have a lot of these insurance companies having their back office there. So our major customers were insurance companies who wanted to take a look at their claims. So let's say you are a claim agent and you are solving a claim and you are on the phone. How many times are you on the phone? How much time did you take? All analytics. And then behavior, right? Those are the kind of things. So Kansas came into picture. It was our first customer. Now, a lot of us were actually staying in California, right? And when you move from California to Kansas, change. It's a cultural change. I mean, you can say, what is a cultural change? It's after all US. No, US is not just one unilateral box. Just like, Kerala has a